I will definitely take you up on that. Thank you, Becky. Especially as we grow as tires here on this Zoom, I think some of us may become hackle snobs inadvertently, as Mark so lovingly put it.
Is there anything I can get off of this cat?
Whiskers for tails.
You're donating.
My favorite fly mark was called Mittens. And he didn't like to see me coming.
Hi, David Crabtree.
Hey.
I'm glad you joined us.
Well, like I told them, I just got over COVID. Not too.
Oh, wow.
No. I come off quarantine today. I've been feeling good for the last week, but they took me off quarantine today.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, no problem.
Now you can live to tell the tale.
Well, it's not as bad as some. My wife's cousin has been in the hospital for over a month now, and he finally got off the ventilator, and he actually took some steps down the hallway today, so he's getting better.
Good. So to kick us off, I'm Brandon Wells. I'm the assistant program lead here in Roanoke, Salem. We're joined by our program lead, Kathy Mueller, and she is amazing in a word, does amazing things to keep this virtual side alive. You most likely received a packet of goods from her. If you've signed up in advance, she'll also send tools your direction and pretty much anything else you may need to conduct the sport of fly fishing. So as always, I like to shower her with praise because she doesn't get nearly enough. So Kathy, thank you. We also are joined by some veterans here for the newcomers. We have Bob Crawshaw. He is in no particular order, he's a Navy vet and all around fantastic person. Lies well when asked about fishing trips. So if you're looking to increase your talents for telling lies, he is the guy for that. Sayward has joined us, Army veteran. Great to have Sayward on. She is one of our frequent flyers, as we call her, and really glad to see her. Rose, a volunteer. Thank you, Rosie, for showing up tonight. Are you tying, Rosie, or no? Hold on. I can't hear you, Rosie. That's okay. You can just say no. It says you're unmuted, Rosie, but who knows what the technological issues are on your end. Could be anything. But we're glad you're here regardless. Becky, another volunteer. Becky, glad to see you. Very much so. In no particular order, going around my screen, I have Mark Colwell. Mark is a former colleague of mine at the VA. Taught me everything I knew about rating claims. And then I said, you know what, this place is horrible. And I left. But him and I managed to stay close. I managed to convince him to come on over here and try it out, along with a buddy of mine, Kevin, who's not here tonight. Mark's Marine Corps veteran as well. And great to have him. Matt, if you want to say anything on your behalf, but I'm going to say that it's Air Force that you swore allegiance to at one time in your life, and a fantastic person to fish with, knows a whole heck of a lot about fly fishing. Dave, I'm going to test my knowledge on you. I know you're here from another state. I want to say the Midwest, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Texas is where I was going. Man, all right. So Dave was a guide out there, I believe, and has given us some of his knowledge here for the past year or so, I think, with our chapter, give or take. Kathy, you should probably be doing this because I have horrible detail recall. Bill Bainter is another assistant program lead. He is our CRM guy. He gets you in the computer and gets you up and running there, and also controls most of the finances running through this chapter as of now. Very grateful to him for that. Jake Mills, I believe you're new tonight. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I am going to acknowledge you and thank you for coming. At any time, you can unmute, you can turn on video, say hello. You can sit back and watch and see if we're worth joining us the next time around.
I'm very grateful to Kathy. I think it was Bob who got me a whole bunch of stuff to start out with. I fly fished 3 times, and this will be the second fly I've ever tied. But
perfect.
I'm a Marine Corps vet, and I think I found and tried to get into this program like as soon as COVID hit. So kind of a bad time, but I'm happy to finally be picking up with everybody.
Fantastic.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Hello, Jake.
Kathy, can you speak on behalf of Luther and Phil?
Okay, Luther, Luther, you live in Floyd, right? I keep getting that mixed up.
I'll see if he'll unmute for us. There he goes.
Yes, I am.
And Luther has a son who's in another Project Healing Waters program. Is it in Northern Virginia?
That is correct.
Where is your son? What program is your son in?
Well, he was attending the ones up there in Northern Virginia, but he's really right around the Richmond area.
Okay. Okay. And I'm not sure, Phil, can you tell us about yourself? Phil might be muted too.
Says he's ready to talk. Phil could be anyone. Phil, you're going to learn how to tie a Griffith's Gnat tonight. So we welcome you.
Okay, I think we're
I
good.
think that's everybody. Yeah. Kathy, we don't want Kathy's history. Kathy's a volunteer. She's an Orvis aficionado, worked there for 30 something years.
Not
and has
quite.
rolled that talent right into our program, which has been great in the world of supply and product. So thank you, Kathy. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to switch cameras and I'm going to kind of zoom in on my hook and we're going to get this Griffith's Gnat started. I will do a shameless plug for the new Christmas present. I got a set of the Loon tie-in tools. Super ergonomic and comfortable. All their stuff is just kind of nicely designed to fit your hand better than your average tie-in tool. And then it's got that real fancy sharp edge on the end of the whip finisher to slice through thread with. So I did a little upgrade there to myself for Christmas and it's getting its trial run this evening. All right, here we go. Switching cameras.
Should you put surgical gloves on now?
Oh gosh, you're right. Where are they? All right. Now I'm going to spotlight my video so that when we are done with this, we have a nice video to watch. If we keep it all in the little postage stamp looking view, you won't be able to really see my screen as well. So that's my reasoning for this. All right, I've got my hook in the vise here. I'm gonna knock down that barb with my hacked pliers here. I took a file and knocked off some of the little teeth on the inside of my pliers. That'll help me flatten down the barb or break the hook completely. Yeah, I've been working out and now I'm gonna have to refit that flag.
We didn't realize we were signing into the gun show.
Welcome. Mark will now tell some jokes to fill the time as I switch my hooks out.
Bob, I just got a canoe recently and I told Brandon about it. And what I said was, I just watched a really cool canoe safety video from the 80s on YouTube. So I'm pretty sure, I just wanted to verify with you, that makes me a boat captain just like you were in the Navy, right? I have the same credentials.
Oh,
No, Mark, we don't call them boats, okay? We call them ships.
There's your first mistake. Oh, goodness.
What were you, a Marine?
We called them taxis when I was in. All right, moving right along. We're gonna reload that. I'm gonna be a little more gentle this time. All right. Okay. Black thread. This is 140 denier. And we are going to start that about an eye behind the eye and run it back. Materials, if you're still gathering, are pretty simple. Peacock herl, maybe 2 strands of peacock herl. Peacock herl looks something like this long stuff. You don't want the short pieces of peacock herl that you find on a peacock feather. That trash, that's no good for this. You want the pieces that, surround the eye of the feather. Once you're at the back there, you're going to trim off your tag end, and we're going to tie in both the peacock herl and our dry fly hackle. So I'm going to get my 2 of the longer slices that I can find of peacock. Keep in mind, peacock can be rather fragile, so be gentle with it. I'm going to lay those 2 pieces of peacock herl here right on top of the shank. And I'm going to take a few tight wraps around it to secure it to the fly. Like so. Hopefully y'all can see that pretty well. I'm going to run that thread right back to the bend of the hook where I tied in the herl. And now I'm going to find my hackle. Mark and I were speaking briefly about this at the beginning of the meeting, but there are different grades of hackle for those of you new to tying. Mark, do you have a slice of the kind of bigger grizzly at your beck and call right now that you could hold up? Just for example's sake. I honestly don't think I have any more of the grizzly hackle. Oh, wait, there's some.
Yeah, I think, is this what you mean? Let's see.
It's time to upgrade your cameras, Mark. This is unacceptable.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I have a small cape.
Okay. Yeah, so it's got that very kind of barred look to it. But the problem is it goes from as thick as your thumb across, and it tapers to maybe some usable stuff here at the tip. Not fantastic for a dry fly where you're really trying to have that tighter pattern to your barbs. So this is also grizzly hackle. However, it's from a chicken that is pretty much bred just to give you fantastic dry fly sized barbs.
Yeah, here's what you were talking about, Brandon.
Exactly. Yep, that's it right there. So if you can get your hands on hackle like this, it's going to up your game as far as dry fly goes. This is perfectly acceptable stuff. You've got to get rid of some of the larger, if I tried to use this on this fly, it would just look like my early flies. but I'm trying to move past that and trying to upgrade my tying quality. So, if you can find capes like this that have that thinner tip, great. If you can find dry fly hackle specifically that is designed to just lay perfect size on a 14 hook, then go for that. It can get expensive. It sounds like Becky is willing to donate some. So we might be able to get a hold of hers and maybe get some pretty good quality hackle out for some of our dry flies that are approaching as we get into the warmer months. Without further ado, I'm going to tie in this dry fly hackle. I was watching a video about tie-in methods, and I always stand up the hackle like this and trim it, right? And what that does is it gives you a nice something for the thread to grab a hold of. But the term that I heard was you give it a GI cut. That dates that person that said that. But it's like a buzz cut. You give the hackle a buzz cut, and you give your thread a little something more to latch onto as it ties in. So I'm going to lay that on my side of the hook, and I'm going to do some loose wraps and then some tighter wraps as that lays down. And then I will be able to run that thread up to the eye, and your hackle can just hang off for now. I'm going to stop about 2 turns of thread just before the eye of the hook to leave room to build up a little head on this Griffith's Gnat. Those of you that have been here a while, you know that I tie a whip finish here. I do that because I've lost enough thread kind of insurance policies. So this just lets me kind of peace of mind to know that that's not going to come undone or back down the hook. It's just a nice habit that I've gotten into to make sure that my thread is going to stay put as I wrap all this stuff forward. You can get fancy thread hangers too. I'm not quite there yet. All right, hopefully my pace is acceptable for most. If not, please say something or otherwise tell me to slow down. I'm happy to do that. You're not going to offend me. I can get carried away. I'm now grabbing these 2 pieces of peacock curl and I'm wrapping forward with pretty tight touching turns. This is going to give your fly not only some buoyancy, but a little bit of body, that image of a bunch of midges kind of stacked together on the water, clumped together, hoping to ride the water film, which is what this is imitating. I then close off my peacock curl there with a wrap or 2, keeping my thread real close to the shank there. And I'm going to pull backwards and do a few more wraps right there. And now I'm ready to cut off my remaining hurl, like so. All right, I'm going to now come forward with my dry fly hackle. Now, this stuff can be a little temperamental. Sometimes it wants to lay a strange direction. That is just experience as a fly tyer. Hackle has 2 sides to it. It's got a very vibrant colored side, and then on the back side of that hackle is a more dull side. That's going to actually help you to determine the orientation of how your feathers are going to lie on the hook. I tie it in so that I can see facing me that vibrant side. And 9 times out of 10, when I wrap forward, that vibrant side is facing the front of the hook. And that's exactly what you want. You want that nice, rich color of the hackle to be facing the fish as they come for this. This is also a fantastic time to use hackle pliers. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out. Hackle pliers, also by Loon. Pretty comfy looking. They're basically designed to just grip small hackle like this. So as I demonstrated for you, it doesn't come undone and back off the hook. There's a few designs for hackle pliers. There's also a set of hackle pliers that pivot, which are pretty sweet. They look something like this. That's a nice close-up. That comes with your Healing Waters tying kit. Great piece of gear there as well. The pivot piece kind of ensures your hackle isn't going to wrap oddly as you go around the hook. But now I'm going to cake these hackle pliers all the way around here. Okay. And if they don't pivot, you've got to kind of pivot for it and work your way around the shank here. There we go. All right, right as you get to the front now, you're going to take your thread and you're going to capture that hackle. Don't worry if some end up all cockeyed. That is going to be handled in post, as we say. All right. So I've got a few wraps there to close that off. There's Joy, Kathy. All right, now, as tempting as it is to snap that hackle off with your scissors, please do a whip finish so that if you do cut your tying thread, which I may have also done before, you at least have a whip finish there to catch you. Jake, if you're not quite in the world of whip finishing yet, do not fret. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve to ensure that you can become more proficient in that. All right, now that has cleaned up nicely. I'm gonna do a little bit more of a shapely head here for my Griffith's Gnat and do a final whip and we'll be done. That's her. That is the Griffith's Gnat. Questions, comments, concerns, critiques? Congratulations. None.
Brandon, I would offer a general rule when you're tying multiple pieces of material on a hook,
Yes, sir.
that you tie on first that which you're going to wrap last. So in this case, you would wrap the hackle on first and then tie the peacock in, then wrap the peacock and then the hackle.
All right, tell me why.
Well, it lays down a lot better, and you trap the peacock. If you wrap the peacock in an over and under wrap and then wrap the hackle the opposite direction, you trap down that delicate peacock quill.
With
that make
the
sense?
hackle. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yeah. Could I offer a couple of observations here?
Absolutely. The answer is
Um,
always yes, Bob.
Yeah. 35 years ago, when you weren't even a twinkle in your daddy's eye,
That's disgusting.
I was fishing on the South River in Waynesboro, and I was downstream from the last road bridge in downtown. And under the tree line, big tree canopy, the fish were going crazy. I mean, there were probably 15 to 20 fish working simultaneously. I could not see a single bug, not one. And sometimes there was a bubble, sometimes there wasn't. It just made no sense. But then I saw the fish were actually within 3 or 4 inches of the surface. And then they would open their mouths. I'd see their white mouths, and they would kind of cruise upstream a little bit, maybe 3-4 feet. And I would hear this slurping or this sucking sound. And I thought, what the heck is this? And I put on this very fly you tied tonight, a Griffith Gnat, and started banging fish. And I thought, why did this work? Well, I think Kathy sent a read along that this Griffith Gnat is part of the Diptera insect order. There's 108 families. There's 29 aquatic families, 3,500 species. But the interesting part of this insect order is that it pupates completely different to every other insect in North America. And it's that pupation difference that I was observing and didn't understand at the time. What they do as a larva on the bottom of the stream is they inject air into their larval husk, and they rise very slowly through the water column, and you can imagine they become fish food immediately.
Mhm.
And they go straight up, and when they get to the surface, their gills are off the top of their head. They stick the top of their head into the surface film,
Okay.
and their body hangs vertically towards the bottom of the river. So you have all these insects, and it's a mass emergence. They come out by the hundreds, and then they pupate inside their larval husk, which is unlike any other insect in the world. And they it takes a while for them to do that. So these pupating insects could float for 200 yards in a river, and there'll be hundreds of them. And so that's what I was observing, was these fish were just sucking these babies up, and they would eat 6, 10, a dozen and a half in one rise. And the fish are like 4 inches below the surface, and they'll come up and they'll slurp, and you'll hear this sucking sound or this slurping sound. And this is this behavior is unique to this insect, and it's midges, non-biting midges, and gnats. And the Griffith gnat that you just tied is the surviving adult. After they finish their pupation, they actually sit on their pupal sac to keep them out of water, so their wings will solidify so they can fly away. So even after they pupate, they're exposed. The Scottish call this sound that the trout make smutting. I don't know why, but they call it smutting. And so when they hear the smutting sound, they call it a smut fly hatch. And the first fly pattern they tied for this smut fly hatch was called the fisherman's curse. So, but there's another lesson here too, and that is everybody thinks about midges and gnats as really tiny. This is the true fly insect order, or Diptera, and they can get up to 3/4 of an inch long. Now I want you to think about what Brandon tied back in December. What did he tie? CK nymph. Yep. You put that beside what he just tied, a gnat. There's a lot of similarities in the silhouette. And so if you tie a CK nymph without weight, with a gray thread, so you know in your fly box it's unweighted, you can fish that with a gnat on a double fly rig. But I've never seen the insects on this hatch, but for some reason the Griffith gnat works. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Sorry, that's my 2 cents.
What's the smallest you ever use for the Griffith gnat?
22.
Wow.
I don't tie anything. I don't tie a Griffith gnat bigger than a size 18.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I take that back. Being 74, that's probably 16 now.
For illustrative purposes, I have the CK nymph we tied last time. Yeah.
Great.
Because, sir, I had a feeling you were going to do your 2 cents tonight. So I definitely brought along my CK nymphs.
Oh, look at this guy.
So hold on a second. I'll put it in the vise here. Tie with black thread because it's weighted. All right.
See,
There you
that's
go.
The pupal sac. That's the pupal sac. That,
So there's our CK nymph
yeah,
shot,
that trailing
you were
shot
referencing.
that you,
Yep.
that Brandon tied there with the marabou. That's a pupal sac. That's what the fly sits on while it's floating in the surface film until the veins in its wings harden and it can fly away. And this insect, by the way, eats adult mosquitoes.
Ooh.
Yeah, good thing.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Delicious. All right, so hopefully you can see the contrast there. There we go. And then there's the Griffiths.
They could be
Huh?
cousins.
They might be.
West
So there we
Virginia.
go. Hey. I'm going to tie another. I'm going to try Crawshaw's method there. I'm going to tie in the hackle first, and then the hurl, and then counter wrap, and see if there is a marked difference in strength. There probably will be. That's as far as I've gotten. So I've got the thread up. I've got my tie-in point right there at the base of the shank there at the bend of the hook. And I'm going to tie in the peacock curl now, if you want to follow along at home. It doesn't look like there's much of an end in sight as far as in-person meetings go. Healing Waters were through March. Kathy, am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong, for in-person at this time.
Actually, right now they say it's through the 1st of March,
Yeah.
but I have a
okay.
feeling it's going to be longer.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, here we sit. All right, now, as Bob mentioned, I tied in the thing last that I'm going to bring forward first. And get my thread out of the way here and start wrapping these peacock curl forward.
Hey, Brandon,
Sir.
try wrapping your thread all the way back to your tie-in point. Just wrap it back to your peacock right now.
Is that in order?
Yeah, good Marine.
Word.
And I want to
Yes,
show you a
sir.
trick. I want to show you
All
a
right.
trick.
I think I've heard
You know,
this
peacock
trick.
curl is so delicate and it tends to spread on you when you're using like 3 or 4 strands. So wrap your thread back to the tie-in point.
Nice. All right, here we are.
Oh, there you go. Now wrap your peacock on the barb side of the thread, and it'll pull the bobbin forward. You don't need to hold the bobbin. Just wrap the peacock. There you go. See how it keeps it tight?
Indeed.
You're not just
I'd
a pretty face.
That's
Doesn't that work, Joel?
good stuff. Now, the thread underneath these wraps, though, what's it doing? Just laying there, useless?
It's just laying there, and now you just wrap it off like you would normally.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use
Interesting.
that with pheasant tail fibers as well, because they spread on you too.
Nice. All right. Thank you. That is good looking. All right, next up is the counter wrapped, according to the Crawshaw. So we're going to wrap towards ourselves this time as we wrapped away for the hurl, and that will crisscross the wraps of the different materials across each other, thusly increasing strength. it feels awkward. All right, we'll build up a head here first, whip finish, and then get rid of any stray hackles there that decided to head for the eye of the hook. Oh, I got to use the other end of my whip finish here. Here we go. Ready? Oh my gosh. What a feeling. All right, let's clean this up. I've seen a few people use the old lighter here. Do so at your own risk. All right, there she is. Number 2. Aside from Bob's praises of this fly, I too can vouch. This is one that's always in the fly box. It does not just have to be when you think there's a midge hatch. It is just a fly that looks buggy naturally, especially for, I would say, brook trout that are fairly reactive to that bug hitting the surface of the water. If you're not familiar with floatant, this fly takes floatant pretty well. So you can really grease it down or whatever you choose to use and get a pretty nice, those are pointing the wrong way. Get a pretty nice float out of it. Dries quick as you sling it through the air. So that's it. That's all I've got this evening. Kathy, any announcements?
Well, you might want, I'm pretty sure I sent some dubbing along with those materials for the Griffith's Gnat. So you might want to
Okay.
just tell them a little bit about what you do with that dubbing.
I'll throw one on for dubbing. Why not? We've still got some time. Let me find one more dry fly hook here.
Oh, well, Brandon's looking for the dubbing. The larva of this insect is red, cream, or black. But when they hatch, they're all black, like the peacock pearl.
So it'll be black then. Sorry, Kathy, I was under the impression that it was peacock.
No, that's okay. I just tied one with sort of an orangish dubbing. And here's what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see it. That's nice. All right, Mark, you ready to break out that wax?
Do it.
I can see your excitement. Mark's referring to a product called dubbing wax that greatly aids in not only the noodle formation, as they call it, getting the dubbing onto your thread, but also maybe adds a little bit of flotation, as it may block a little bit of water from soaking into that dubbing with its waxy properties there. So black thread again, followed by black dubbing, and then your hackle. A shameless plug for next session, 2 weeks from today. Bob Crawshaw, the 2 cents donator, will be donating a whole lot more than that to our knowledge, as he gives a brief presentation. I say brief. He gives a PowerPoint presentation on fishing wet flies. It's going to be pretty well timed. We're hoping that this winter is kind to us and we can start getting out as the waters start to warm up again. So Bob, if you want to give any more teasers on that, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I think, aren't you going to tie a February red as part
Yes,
of that?
I believe you're right.
And yeah, it's, insects hatch all year long, but the bulk of the insects hatch March through June. And so it's January, and it's time to start be thinking about your box, your fly box, and fishing wet flies, which are emerging insects that are in the top half, the top 2/3 of the water column, as opposed to a deep water nymph. And so that's what I'm going to speak to the next session, which is the 19th, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
2 weeks from right now.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so you can go
I'll
ahead.
be mailing out those materials for the February red soon.
Perfect.
I just said that's some good looking dubbing.
Hey, thanks, buddy. It's the wax, I'm telling you. Here's the dubbing wax. It's basically a massive thing of chapstick. It's lasted me 3 years, and I'm 1/100th of the way through it.
Right.
Can you
So
just use chapstick?
say again.
Can you just use chapstick?
Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
rules here, Rosie.
All right, just curious.
You can
No
also
rules.
use a candle.
Candle wax?
But Mark, my Wapsi extra sticky dubbing wax, I bought in 1958.
Amazing.
And I'm not even halfway through it.
Wow.
Bob, did you have something to do? Weren't you involved in rejuvenating or getting Glade Creek up and going over there?
Yeah, Bill and I could give you a whole chapter and verse on it.
I thought so. I went over there on Sunday. Thought I was going to be sly since it was raining and gross. And that usually keeps, because they just stocked it, I don't know, Thursday or Friday of last week, I think. So I thought it'd be pretty good fishing and there wouldn't be a whole lot of people out there, even though it's right in town there. But man, it was packed. Even
Yeah.
gross over there.
Those meat
Yeah.
hunters.
Bill Boehner and I belong to the Glade Creek Restoration Committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but it was like 5 or 7 years that we did this. We planted about 12,000 trees
Wow.
along the stream. And,
What are trees?
put in-
You had a newsletter that we sent out to all the landowners a
Oh,
couple
yeah,
times
right.
a month.
I feel like we just need to get that set as a catch and release only stream, but I guess there's no hope of that ever happening.
No,
That's too bad.
we got frustrated, as Bill will tell you. We did Petri dishes for the bacteria, and it was pretty gross. The bacteria in the stream.
E. coli.
E. coli. Oh, yeah, right, Bill, right.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Look at this. You're cooking, man.
So you remember that coal car you mentioned earlier in the year that had tipped over at Dixie Caverns?
Oh, yeah.
So I was fishing Auxiliary Park here in Salem, and I stumbled upon a literal bar of it. Like it was just like a 6x6 section of coal that had just piled up. And I was with my son. He's like, what's that, Dad? I was like, that's a rock that burns. And he said, no, that's impossible. I said, all right. So we collected a handful.
Yeah.
And it
Was
brought
this
it home.
porter?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's terrible about it is it killed every bug under that layer of coal.
I believe it.
Oh,
That's too
different
bad.
color.
I've got a lot of cutters. But yeah, that was it was sad to see, and I've got to figure it affected water quality, water pH in some way, shape, or form. But it
How'd
was just
you end up
odd to
doing
see
over
it. Say again.
How'd you end up doing over there?
I'll give you one guess. It was pretty cold. Things were moving pretty slow, but I love that water over there. It's just got that like teal blue color, deep, but there was nothing hitting what I was throwing. All right, this will be the final Griffiths of the evening. This will bring us to a grand total of 3. I'll stick around for a few minutes after the official end of the recording for questions and such, and then we'll call it a night. The recording will be posted on YouTube, and the link will be shared by Kathy. That's my favorite one of the evening. So you can follow along at your own pace at home with no real pressure or otherwise practice to your little heart's content. I'm going to stop recording in 3, 2,